Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Govani Pachayane Nivrishisha Shunyavari Pashatari Shatarina Vanchakapa Jubasha Kripa Sinubevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pavanityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasari Go Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so welcome back everybody. Let us quickly remember, yesterday we were discussing the topic of chastity. We were trying to get a deeper insight what this chastity is all about. And then also about the important role of mothers, understanding that mothers are like the topmost personalities in human society, actually, in spiritual culture. And that's why women are usually called mothers, because it's such an important role and it's actually full of affection and respect and honor. Yeah, so today we have still a few little, well, for some people, controversial topics, but I was reflecting a bit more on this whole thing of hot and controversial topics. Actually, it becomes only controversial when we try to establish what's right and what's wrong. Then these topics become controversial. Oh, who is right, But if we approach it in a different mood, simply trying to get some insights into Krishna's amazing culture and system, not getting into this ego battle there of who knows better or something, but simply getting some insights, and then we can understand things more deeply, and we can understand those more who are more in the so-called traditional side, and also the traditional people. I mean, I have given these courses even in Bangladesh, and this has also given them some insights why for us Westerners many things are so difficult to accept, and why we often do things very differently in the Western world, So it was just as important for them to get these insights, just to bridge the gaps a bit, because like in Mayapur, I'm spending usually quite a bit of time there. This is where usually the cultures meet, and there's sometimes quite a bit of tension there. So this whole seminar actually has the power to bridge the gaps a bit, that we simply understand and we learn to respect each other where we are standing at, between these, in this spectrum of day of the materialist, day of the spiritualist. Of course, sometimes people get offended, oh, day of the materialist, this doesn't sound so nice, but well, I think we have to be a little humble and honest and admit how much we are conditioned by this, modern propaganda, and just admit that we do have certain likes and dislikes which fit more into materialistic lifestyle. Let's be a little humble and honest. So our first topic, actually, it's the topic which Bhakti Mataji was already addressing, I think, in the first session, are women less intelligent, right? She was bringing up this point, are women less intelligent? What is this, Yeah, so, and at that time, I very briefly only touched upon it, just to give some answer, but now it is the first topic of our last session here. So yes, let us remember, intelligence, is a subtle element of the subtle material body. It's a material intelligence. We are talking a material element. We are talking here about material intelligence, of course, Spiritual intelligence is something completely different, But, the soul is covered by the gross material body made out of earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then there is the subtle material body, which is made from mind, intelligence, for its ego. So there we've got the intelligence, So it is simply part of the subtle material body. And as I was mentioning before, when somebody makes the statement, oh, men have bigger feet, we usually don't get that agitated about it because we don't identify so much with the feet. It's just the feet. Okay, let them have bigger feet, But intelligence, as we maybe now understood already after this whole seminar, material life and its culture is, overemphasizing the importance of the subtle body, mind, intelligence for its ego. It's really boosting that, and it's deepening the identification with that. So we all take this intelligence as something really important, and we so much identify with it. It's bodily platform. So, I mean, basically, we can really say, I hope nobody minds me saying this, if people get upset about such a statement that women have less intelligence, it's bodily platform, nothing else, nothing else. Yes, let's be clear on it. Let's make the diagnosis, So, yes, and I'm always saying, to go back to Godhead, we have to dissolve the subtle body. We have to, transform and fully spiritualize it. So if the subtle body is smaller, it's an advantage. It's less work to dissolve it. Yes, let's be clear in this. It really is. Because also in one purport in the first canto, Prabhupada says that the, different principles of material advancement, namely high parentage, good wealth, high education, here we have it, material intelligence, high education, and bodily beauty. They're, so to speak, disqualifications for progress in spiritual advancement. Yes. Why? Because we tend to get so proud and puffed up about it. Yes. So therefore, these material opulences, coming from an aristocratic family, being very wealthy, having very high education, being very attractive and beautiful, this is our unfortunate condition, that as soon as we have some little opulences, we just get so damn puffed up about it. And we think, oh, look at me, I'm so intelligent, I'm a professor, I'm a doctor, I'm this, I'm that, I'm so wealthy, and that's why Prabhupada says, these material opulences, they're actually somewhat an impediment. Of course, they're not absolute impediments, because even a wealthy and highly educated person can, of course, become a pure devotee, no doubt. Bhakti cannot be stopped by any material condition, but as a rule, it tends to lead to pride and arrogance. And that's why it's not so good at all to have these material opulences, actually, Yes. And I mean, you can see it in the Western world where the standard of life is higher. Here, Germany, I mean, the Germans are pretty arrogant and puffed up, I'm not so proud of being German, my God, because as a rule, they're quite arrogant and not so easy for them to bow down, Yes, my God, But then in more poor countries like Ukraine, for example, their life is much more simple. Their people, are more humble, and for them so much easier to take to Krishna consciousness. They're not blocked by all this pride and arrogance, Of course, you also find pride in Ukraine, but, just looking at the numbers of devotees, I mean, Kiev, capital of Ukraine, normal Sunday feast, you get 800 people coming to the Sunday program. And they're all locals, they're not Hindu people. You know, like in India and some parts of America, you also get big numbers. There's simply Hindu people who just have that tradition of visiting the temple or something, but often they don't follow that much and they're not so serious in their spiritual practice. You know, but no, these numbers in Ukraine, they're all locals, you know, yes. So the numbers speak for themselves, really, you know. Yeah, so of course, let us balance this a little bit. So yes, let us admit women are less intelligent. See, it's like the male body. We discussed this right in the first lesson. The male body, as a rule, the gross body is stronger, you know, broader shoulders, stronger muscles, so he can protect, he can provide, and the subtle body is also stronger. You know, we were discussing this, so he can really, he's got a more rational view on things, and you know, so he can carry that burden of protecting, providing, and taking charge. You know, so, and we women, you know, our gross and subtle body is less strong, you know. So yeah, so but now if a man puts a woman down for being less intelligent, so what does that mean? You know, that also shows bodily platform. He thinks she is a woman. You know, he doesn't have the spiritual vision of seeing the spirit soul there in a woman's body. He doesn't remember that last lifetime, most likely he was in a female body too. And all right, this lifetime he's in a male body. And if he doesn't watch out, next lifetime he will be again in a female body. That vision he doesn't have. So, you know, if a man disrespects a woman for being less intelligent or more emotional or whatever, that clearly shows bodily platform, you know. So let's get off the bodily platform, you know, both the men and the women. And we have a nice quote here, which Prabhupada, yeah, it's in a lecture on the Bhagavatam, 3rd of August in 68, so it's quite early. So very nicely, Prabhupada explains the matter. He says, I was student of psychology in my college life. Dr. Urquhart, he said, I remember still that the brain substance has been found up to 64 ounce, while brain substance of woman has been found highest 34 ounce. Therefore, woman class, and Prabhupada laughs, is not so intelligent as men. There is no question of competition. It is actual scientific fact. But one thing I must explain here. So far spiritual life is concerned, it does not depend on the material brain substance. It is a different thing. It is spiritual platform. It has nothing to do with this bodily construction. You must remember, we don't make any distinction that a man can be better Krishna conscious than woman. No, a woman actually can be better Krishna conscious because they are very simple. They can accept any religious system. Generally, the women, they accept it because they're very simple. They have no crooked mind. Sometimes they're exploited, therefore. So in the spiritual platform, there is no such distinction, although in the material. Just like the bodily construction of man is different from woman, similarly, the brain substance may be also different, but that does not disqualify any woman for spiritual advancement in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada very nicely explains it. It's just, you know, a material bodily thing. So now sometimes when I give these seminars in life, I had people in the audience, they say, oh, actually now they found out that men's brain substance is not that much more than women's. And so, I mean, I tell you frankly, I don't even care, you know. I really couldn't be bothered about it, you know, my God, you know. So whatever it may be, but this is Prabhupada's quote, you know, so for me, this is fine, even if some people say, oh, actually, this is not right, and the science has come to a different conclusion or whatever. So whatever it may be, So, but in any case, Prabhupada very nicely says that actually, no, woman's body is in many ways more suitable for any spiritual path, because we women, we more easily take it up, and and you can see practically in all religious organizations, there's as a rule more women than men, So yeah, so I mean, I would not say at all that it is a disadvantage being in a woman's body or something, I remember when I was married, my husband and I, we always had these discussions, what's the better deal, and he was thinking the woman's body is a better deal. Yes, because for us women, we are more connected with the heart and the emotional level, and for us, in many ways more easy to actually serve and in devotion and so on, because that's the mother's role, whereas the men often have their egos in between, and because they have this stronger ego, so that they take charge and so on. So yeah, I mean, I'm also very happy with my deal I have, and I don't want to have a man's body and in my next life. So I hope I'm saved from that. But in any case, we should never think that, such statements, or women are less intelligent, that this is a disqualification. No, it's the opposite. And we have so many examples, in our Shastra, like the gopis themselves, they are on the highest platform of pure bhakti. It's the gopis, so female form, or the story with Krishna and Balaram when they asked the brahmanas for something to eat, and the brahmanas, they were too busy with their yagyas, sorry, we don't have time, But then the brahmanas' wives, they dropped everything. Yes, of course, if Krishna and Balaram are hungry, of course we have time to feed them, So these examples show very clearly, that it is actually, it is not a bad thing to be in a female form, So yeah, no problem. So now, connected with this topic, why we women are considered also less intelligent is actually the emotional nature which the female body comes along with, We have already mentioned this, that, woman's body means more attachment to the body, gross and subtle, the emotional nature there also. And that's comes along so that we do want to play the role of bringing color and beauty into life and decorate ourselves and make ourselves pretty and colorful and all that. So that stronger bodily identification is there. And also because of the emotional nature, which very easily clouds our vision, we cannot see. The emotions get into our way, and we imagine so many things and we jump to conclusions. And I mean, any soul, any spirit soul in a woman's body, I'm sure has that experience, how so often our emotions, foggy, make our vision foggy, and we can't see things as they are, and we panic, and we overreact, and we imagine so many things and jump to conclusions, right? Have we experienced this? Yes. 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 I mean, I consider my humble self less emotional than many women, but still, it happens to me also that, I completely misjudge things and I get too emotional about something and overreact. My God, it happens to me too. Even though I feel I'm less emotional than many, but still, it's there. It's there. We can't deny it. So better to just accept, what vehicle we are driving here and what natures does it have, and we have to learn to deal with it rather than denying it and, oh no, less emotional, this sounds like a bad thing, and no, we are not less emotional. No, let's understand, as we mentioned in the first session, this emotional nature has to be there in the woman's mentality, so that she is a good caregiver, a good mother, that she wants to be a mother, and not only physical mother, but also, within a community, serving in that mood of a caring mother. Often we hear these statements, oh, in ISKCON there's no care, nobody cares. And I'm sometimes kind of making this comment and saying, oh, well, it's not surprising if all the women want to be Prabhu, then of course there's a lack of care, because who cares? It's the mothers, But if we don't want to be mothers and we don't want to be seen and addressed as mothers, oh, well, obviously there will be a lack of care then, because we women are meant to be the caring and harmonizing and balancing force there, And sometimes I also hear these statements that, yes, ISKCON needs more mothers and grandmothers. Yes. Yes, because they have that, that affectionate heart to care for the devotees, Yes. So in any case, yes, so the emotional nature makes our vision sometimes cloudy and foggy, and then we overreact. And we have a wonderful example of this also in the Shastra, in the Bhagavatam, in regards to Parvati, and how when she curses Chitraketu. So this is 6th canto, 17th chapter, verse 34-35. So just to refresh our memory, the situation was that Parvati was sitting with her husband, Lord Shiva, and she was sitting on his lap. And they were a little intimate there with each other. But they were in the association of sages and saints, actually. They were not alone. So, and then Chitraketu came flying past in his flower aeroplane there, and he made some joking comments. He was actually good friends with Lord Shiva, and he simply made some comments. Well, my dear Lord Shiva, do you really think this is the right way to behave in the assembly of science and sages? And he made some joking remarks, And of course, Lord Shiva could fully understand Chitraketu's mind, and he didn't take it seriously, He was just smiling. But Parvati, she got offended, She really overreacted and she chastised him. Oh, who are you? Just because you are worshipping the Lord here, Lord Vishnu, you have become puffed up here, and don't you know who my husband is? He is the spiritual master of the universe here, and how can you dare to talk to him like this? And she cursed Chitraketu. Even though he's a highly advanced personality, he cursed him to take birth as a demon. Yes. So, and because Maharaj Chitraketu is a highly advanced soul, he humbly accepted the curse. He could actually have retaliated and counteracted the curse, but he humbly accepted it. And he offered, a very nice, eloquent speech saying, okay, my dear Mother Parvati, if you think that this is what I deserve, I will gladly accept it. Actually, for devotee, it doesn't matter, you know, hellish and demoniac body or divine body, it's all the same, you know, it's just the body, you know, and we can serve in any situation and, you know. So he gave this highly advanced speech there, and then he took his leave. So, and then after that, Lord Shiva kind of, you know, chastised his wife a little bit and said, you know, there was no need to curse him. You know, he is a great devotee of the Lord. He was just joking. We were just, you know, having some joking exchange here, you know. And yeah, so he kind of corrected her, you know. And then the funny thing is, when Parvati heard this, she got very embarrassed. And it is very nicely described in the Bhagavatam that she was covering her face with her sari piece, you know. Oh my God, I was so foolish, you know. Why did I curse him? I shouldn't have done that. Oh my God, you know. So, and I'm sure we have all had such situations where we, you know, rather would disappear in the ground for doing something stupid or something, and we realize, you know, I really misjudged this and overreacted and made a fool out of myself. So this happened to Parvati also. So, and now let us read what Prabhupada says here. You know, he speaks quite some strong words, you know, as usual, you know, Prabhupada very much to the point. So, and the purport he says, here is the difference between male and female that exists even in the higher statuses of life. In fact, even between Lord Shiva and his wife. Lord Shiva could understand Chitraketu very nicely, but Parvati could not. Thus, even in the higher statuses of life, there is a difference between the understanding of a male and that of a female. It may be clearly said that the understanding of a woman is always inferior to the understanding of a man. In the Western countries, there is now agitation to the effect that man and woman should be considered equal. But from this verse, it appears that woman is always less intelligent than man. You know, Prabhupada again. This is often hard, you know, for us to swallow when we hear these words, you know. It is clear that Chitraketu wanted to criticize the behavior of his friend, Lord Shiva, because Lord Shiva was sitting with his wife on his lap. Then too, Lord Shiva wanted to criticize Chitraketu for externally posing as a great devotee, but being interested in enjoying with the Vidyadhara women. These were all friendly jokes. There was nothing serious for which Chitraketu should have been cursed by Parvati. Upon hearing the instructions of Lord Shiva, Parvati must have been very much ashamed for cursing Chitraketu to become a demon. Mother Parvati could not appreciate Chitraketu's position, and therefore she cursed him. But when she understood the instructions of Lord Shiva, she was ashamed. Yes. Yeah, so now let us understand this correctly. You know, Prabhupada says, it may be clearly said that the understanding of a woman is always inferior to the understanding of a man. So let us understand this statement properly. And as far as I understand, and I have verified this with other senior devotees, Prabhupada is not saying that any woman's understanding is inferior to any man's understanding. That wouldn't make sense, you know, if we take it in that meaning, that the understanding of a devotee lady, Mataji, is always inferior to any hobo off the street, you know. That's not what Prabhupada says. But what actually is expressed here, that, you know, if husband and wife in this situation, man and woman, they are of the same caliber, like Shiva and Parvati. They both are certainly not ordinary men or ordinary women, you know. So if a man and woman are of the same caliber, same level of you know, advancement and you know, position, so then a man's understanding is superior to a woman's understanding. You know, that's makes sense. You know, otherwise it wouldn't make sense. If any woman's understanding is always inferior to any man's understanding, no matter whether he's a devotee or not devotee, you know. So no, but Prabhupada says here, you know, even in the higher statuses of life, in fact, even between Lord Shiva and Parvati, you know, we can see the differences of the male and the female understanding, you know. Yeah, so that's the point, you know. So even Parvati, you know, is under this influence of her emotions. Even her judgment got clouded and distorted by her emotions, you know, and she misjudged. She jumped to conclusions, you know. So even on her level, this takes place, you know. So it is simply, you know, the effect of the emotional nature, which very easily, yeah, makes the intelligence foggy, and then we can't see so clearly, you know. So that's another reason why we women are considered to be less intelligent, you know, because of the emotional nature getting into our way, and then we can't see things for what they are, you know. Yes, and I mean, we also have this humorous little story where Prabhupada was asked, you know, are women less intelligent? I mean, you know, because as we said yesterday, when Prabhupada actually went to the Western world, it was really like the heights of the man-woman equality and feminism and women's independence movement. It all started then, you know. So Prabhupada, very often, he was really challenged on this point, you know. And, oh yes, you scriptures say women are less intelligent and you know, so yeah, so and once also Prabhupada was asked, are women less intelligent? And then he gave this humorous answer, yes, they are, as long as they think they are women. In other words, as long as we identify with being woman, you know. And of course, it's the same for men also, you know, as long as they are identifying with the body and thinking they are men, they're also on the bodily platform, which is not very intelligent, you know. Yes. Okay, so let me see if we have some question just about this topic now, of women being less intelligent and being more on the bodily platform and being more affected by the emotional nature, clouding the vision and so on, you know. Do we have any questions just about this?
No questions in chat yet.
No questions. I mean, sometimes, let me add, sometimes the question comes up, so what to do, you know, when we are overcome by our emotions and so on, you know, what to do. So first of all, good to clearly understand that this is part of the deal of being in the woman's body, you know, and understanding that, you know, that's the first thing. And I mean, this is also one reason why we women are meant to be protected, you know, because of that. And I'm sure, you know, at least those who are married, you know, we have that experience that, yes, when we get emotional, you know, so then the husband says, don't worry, you know, just cool down, sleep it over, we'll work it all out, you know, just relax, you know, so, and then that helps us to cool down and we feel protected there, you know. So that's one reason also why we women should be protected, you know, because as Prabhupada also said in the previous quote, you know, we women can easily be taken advantage of, you know, and exploited also because of this emotional nature, you know, then we don't recognize that somebody here is trying to cheat us and take advantage of us. And yeah, and then we get somehow pulled into some miserable situation there, you know. So yeah, you know, we need to be protected. And first of all, we have to clearly understand that we have this more emotional nature. So, and then even judging from the whole story with Shiva and Parvati, often, obviously, it shows that we better don't make any bigger decisions there and actions when we are emotional, you know, because then we can also easily commit an offense, you know, like she was immediately cursing here, Chitraketu and so on. So, you know, if we feel we are emotional, then better just to relax and wait until we cool down, sleep it over. This is a good thing, you know. Yes, that's one of the, you know, things I keep for myself. If there's something that somehow disturbs me, agitates me, so all right, no need to make any decisions and actions and, you know, but just sleep a night. And the next morning, things already look differently. You know, you got that experience? I hope you have. You know, yes, yes. So in this situation where we are overcome by emotions, better not to act, you know, yes. And just wait, you know, and cool down. And just understand, okay, yes, I am driving a female body here, so I'm getting a little emotional about this. You know, the problem is that very often we don't recognize this, you know, because we identify with the subtle body and we identify with our emotions and we think it's all me, you know, and we don't realize, hang on, what's taking place here? What's going on? I'm just getting emotional here, you know. Not so easy to recognize, you know. But then again, it's another reason why it's important to have a mentor, a counselor, you know, a coach, and that person can then also help us to understand and see what's taking place here in our life and that we're just getting carried away by our emotions or something, you know. Yeah, so this is a simple, you know, tip to just wait until things clear up a little bit and not be too spontaneous there in our actions in an emotional state, you know. And also even in regards to our spiritual practice, you know, sometimes, I'm often advising ladies not to take their emotions as so seriously, you know. Sometimes we imagine all kinds of things between me and Krishna and me and Guru and it's so highly transcendental emotions, but often it's not so transcendental. It just comes from our emotional nature. Yes. Yeah, so you know, we have to be careful that we don't take these emotions too seriously and make them too, you know, put them on a too highly spiritual platform. Then easily we become sahajiyas, you know, that we, we consider ourselves on a very advanced level where we have highly transcendental emotions and so on. But actually we are not having the, you know, we're not paying the price of spiritual discipline and strict practice to actually get there, you know. We just want to artificially jump there, you know. So, yes. And I mean, this is also really one reason why it is advisable for us women to be in a family situation. You know, I can't remember whether we touched upon this, because the family is the field where we can satisfy these emotional needs in a healthy way. It's within family life. Yes, that's one purpose of family life, that there we have this emotional satisfaction, and that frees all other relationships from these emotional needs. Because if these emotional needs, for example, they enter the guru-disciple relationship, for example, it actually contaminates that relationship. You know, the guru-disciple relationship is not meant for emotional fulfillment. It's not meant for that, you know, and it somewhat contaminates in a subtle way the relationship, because it's a subtle bodily need, the emotional needs. It's not connected with the soul. So therefore, very important that ladies are, as a rule, that they are situated in family life, and that there they can fulfill their emotional needs in a very healthy and appropriate way. And that frees all other relationships with devotees, with Guru, with Krishna, from these emotional needs, and keeps them more pure, you know, like that. Okay. Anything else to add? Any questions, comments? Yes, Bhakti Mataji wants to say something, but only question to the topic. Any other sharing and exchanges we keep for later. Can you unmute her?
Oh, I just had a reflection and I'll share later.
Sorry, I hope I didn't.
No problem.
Yeah, I'm just anxious that we really
No problem.
smoothly get through the topics, you know.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so please stay on to the end and share later. Okay? Good. Okay, so then let us move on to the next controversial issue. Women leading kirtan and giving class. There's also a broad spectrum of opinions on this, and you know, sometimes heated discussions and so yeah, let us get a little bit of insights, you know. For example, you know, for those who go regularly to India, Mayapur, you know, the local devotees there, the leaders, then don't so easily agree, you know, that women lead temple kirtans or that they give classes. There's a little bit of a thing, you know. So let us understand why this is, you know. Again, please understand me properly. I'm not saying here what is right and what is wrong, and whether a woman should lead kirtans and give class or whether she should not. No, let us just have some insights into, you know, Krishna's culture and why in India, for example, people are not so keen for this, you know. So we do have a quote here by Bhaktivinoda Thakur from the Gudruma Kalpa Tavi, part 2. There, Prabhupada says the following, not Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Women who are pure devotees can become traveling women salesmen for distributing the holy name amongst other women, but they cannot give the name to men. According to time, place, and circumstances, however, and with great care, a cautious and mature woman can distribute the name to men. Apart from elderly women or very young girls, men preachers should avoid discussions with other women. So let us understand what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says here. So let us first refer to the last sentence that is more obvious. He says, actually men preachers should only speak to elderly ladies or very young girls discussing philosophy privately. I'm not talking about lectures, but privately. But to other women, that's the Vaishnava etiquette in Krishna's system. They actually should not engage in discussing the philosophy. So we might think, oh, wow, that sounds really extreme and fanatic or something. But no, I mean, we have to admit, how often in the name of preaching is something else going on there, that some subtle enjoyment of the attention of the other gender there is there, and in the name of preaching, we just, try to associate and enjoy the company and attention of the other person. So that's why, actually the Vaishnava etiquette is rather strict, that, a male preacher should only discuss privately the philosophy with elderly ladies or very young girls, yes. But again, I'm saying that doesn't mean that he cannot give classes where, other women are there or something. No, of course, we're talking about personal discussion of the philosophy, this is what it's meant here, So now let's go back to the first statement, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says women who are pure devotees. So first of all, she has to be a pure devotee. So of course, now we can start a whole discussion. So what does it mean to be a pure devotee? There's also all kinds of, definitions. But anyway, let's not get into that now, but it simply means she has to be, pretty serious and pure. So she can become a traveling woman salesman for distributing the holy name, which, according to my understanding, means she can become a preacher, distributing a traveling woman salesman means basically distributing the holy name, preaching. It doesn't mean only chanting, but it means preaching, and it may include also kirtan or chanting. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, if she is a pure devotee, she should actually only preach to women and not to men. So that's the general rule. And then he says, but according to time, place, and circumstances, however, with great care, a cautious and mature woman, she can distribute the name also to men. So she can also preach to men. But she has to be a pure devotee, and she has to be very careful, very cautious, and she has to be mature, and then she can also preach to men. So this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur has to say about this topic, yes. And I mean, yeah, it's a little bit like that. I have that experience from Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, a very young and pretty woman who is all decorated and with, ornaments and makeup and colorful saris, she would not really be invited to sit on the Vyasasana, actually. This is a fact. In spiritual culture, people understand sitting on the Vyasasana, you have to represent Vyasadeva. And in order to represent Vyasadeva, there has to be a bit of maturity there. You can't be completely on the bodily platform there, all decorated and, it kind of is a little, it's, for people who are really in spiritual culture, their consciousness, it's odd. It feels odd, you know, that a woman, because as we established, women by nature are more on the bodily platform anyway, so that we bring color and beauty into life. So obviously, you know, a woman to sit on the Vyasa-san, she has to be a little mature, which means she has to be a little off the bodily platform. She has to be a little elderly, you know, and not only elderly by age, but also by spiritual maturity, you know, because otherwise, how can you sit on the Vyasa-san all decorated and colorful and then talk about the bodily platform of life? You know, it kind of doesn't make so much sense. And by the way, this is not only for women, this is also for men, you know. I remember, you know, I know one preacher, he's very popular, but he colors his hair, you know, he makes blonde streaks into his hair. And then he sits on the Vyasa-san. I mean, I'm sorry, you know, for me, I'm not so keen to hear from such a preacher, you know. So this, you know, this principle is there for men and women. It's not only for the women, as long as they're on the bodily platform of life, but also for the men, you know. I mean, my God, a male preacher coloring his hair, making blonde streaks into his hair. I mean, for me, this is just too much. I'm sorry, you know. Yes, I'm not so keen to hear from such a person, you know. I cannot take him so seriously because it's pretty obvious that he is on the bodily platform, you know. So yeah, it's there for both genders, you know, as long as we are strongly, you know, conditioned by the bodily identification, then yeah, according in you know, Krishna's culture, it would feel a little odd to, you know, invite such a person to sit on the Vyasa-san, you know. And this is how it is practiced, for example, in countries like Bangladesh. So, you know, younger ladies, you know, who are not so mature or something, they usually don't sit on the Vyasa-san, you know. But then elderly people who are more, you know, mature and in the renounced phase of life and a little bit off the bodily platform, there's no problem, you know. I mean, there was never a problem with me giving class in Bangladesh for 22 years, you know. There was never the question coming up, or she's a woman, maybe she shouldn't give class. No. Because some people, some devotees in our movement, they are having that very extreme, in my humble opinion, extreme attitude that no woman should give class, you know. This is not what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, you know, no. But we have to have the adhikar, we have to have some, you know, and here Bhaktivinoda Thakur is describing this very clearly, you know, with great care, a cautious and mature person, a woman, you know, she can also preach to men, you know. So it's not some extreme thing that no woman can ever give class. This is nowhere in the Shastra, you know, really nowhere, you know. Yeah, so yeah, that's that. Hang on, what else did I just wanted to mention? Anyway, let us read the next quote here. Srila Prabhupada in a letter to Jai Govinda, 1968. Regarding lecturing by woman devotees, I have informed you that in the service of the Lord, there is no distinction of caste or creed, color or sex. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord especially mentions that even a woman who has taken seriously is also destined to reach him. We require a person who is in the knowledge of Krishna. That is the only qualification of a person speaking. It doesn't matter what he is. Materially, a woman may be less intelligent than a man, but spiritually, there is no such distinction. because spiritually everyone is pure soul. In the absolute plane, there is no such gradation of higher and lower. And now Prabhupada makes the main point. If a woman can lecture nicely and to the point, we should hear her carefully. That is our philosophy. But if a man can speak better than a woman, the man should be given first preference. But even though a woman is less intelligent, a sincere soul should be given proper chance to speak, because we want so many preachers, both men and women. So Prabhupada also very nicely puts it in balance, And he makes this point, if a woman can speak nicely and to the point. So now my question, why is it sometimes not so easy for women to speak to the point? Because of her emotional nature, Yes. So that's why sometimes we women, we get all flustered and we go in circles and we get lost in some details and so on, It is, again, the emotional nature, Very often we ladies, we're not even so keen to speak because of that, because we just get too nervous, and then, we forget everything, or the voice all chokes and so on, So that's usually, the effect of the emotional nature, So yeah, that's why for us women, it's not always so easy to really speak to the point, because the emotions, again, make things foggy and we can't see things clearly and so on, But yes, I mean, a little thing I wanted to share about my own life. Actually, I somehow intuitively, I followed exactly what Bhaktivinoda Thakur recommends, that actually for many years, like while I was married, I was never sitting on the Vyasasana, never. Even though devotees were saying, oh, why isn't Devaki Mataji giving class and so on, But I always felt I should leave this to my husband. And I was all decorated and makeup and all this. And I somehow intuitively, nobody instructed me in this, but intuitively felt this is not the right time now, to sit on the Vyasasana and give class to a mixed audience. But I was every week for many years conducting a Mataji's program, and this is what Prabhupada says, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that, women preacher, they should preach to women, and not to men. So my recommendation is always that we women, we can qualify ourselves by preaching amongst women. I did this for more than 10 years regularly. I was always every week when we were starting the temple in Latvia in my married life, we started the temple there, and we had a big temple. We had 75 brahmacharis and 30 brahmacharinis, and I was there, the mother of the whole setup there, and a big congregation. So every week we had women's programs and so on. And I was also conducting Pujari meetings, Sankirtan meetings, but not from the Vyasasana, So in that way, I had a chance to qualify myself a little bit, And then only when my husband left Krishna consciousness and I started going into white, then I thought, okay, maybe now it's time to start giving Bhagavatam classes, So, and I actually felt this was really, for me, it was the perfect way to go. And it, I find that confirmation also in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's statement, that first we should speak to women and preach to women, because if we are so eager, we have to preach in front of men and so on. So, I mean, in most communities, the women are in majority, and we women play such an important role. So why not just preach to women first, get a bit of practice there, And then once we are a little more experienced and so on, and if we can keep our mind on track and we don't get too flustered by emotions and so on. So then, yes, then sooner or later the time will be right when we can also preach to men, you know. So now one thing, let us, you know, now at the last session of this whole seminar, we know a little bit how the man's mind and egos tick, you know, that the man wants to be the hero and so on. So let us collect maybe the effect on the man, which it maybe has when we women, you know, give class, you know, especially when we are younger, when we are pretty, you know, when you're nicely decorated and we're sitting there on the Vyasa-san. So what effect does it have on the man? So first of all, obviously, he may get distracted, you know, just checking out her beauty there and this and that, you know, most likely. And I remember once I was giving this seminar in India, in Bangalore, and then one Mataji was saying, and she was married, you know, and elderly, you know, not young girl, 45, 50. And she was saying, actually, it also distracts me when there's a young woman sitting on the Vyasa-san. I also check her out and I look, oh, what earrings does she wear? And does it match to the sari? And what would I wear if I would sit there? And what colors does she wear? And this and that and this and that. So I thought that was an interesting point too, you know, that even we women may also get distracted checking her out, you know, because as we were mentioning, often we women, we dress up for the other women to compete, you know, who wins the competition, the beauty competition there, you know, so, you know, a younger and more attractive and beautiful and nicely decorated woman on the Vyasa-san, she may not only distract the men, but actually also the women. So I thought that was a good point. So, and also, especially if she is a little younger, easily the male ego doesn't like it so much, you know, because as we said, his nature is that he wants to, you know, be the number one. He wants to be in the front. He wants to be the hero. And naturally in his mind and his ego, you know, he thinks, oh, actually, I should be sitting there. What is this, you know? So that's one thing. And I can confirm this, you know, from, yeah, not only being in Mayapur, even other communities in the Western world too. You know, like in Mayapur, we have one day where the women give class, you know, the Women's Day. Can't remember which day it was, Wednesday, Friday, something, you know. And I've observed many men categorically, they don't come to the class on that day. They just don't want to sit there and listen to a woman. It's just for their egos. Well, they're driving the tractor. Let's remember, you know, they're driving the tractor. So it's not easy for them, you know, especially if she's a little emotional and this and that. And oh, no, not for them, you know. And I've heard this also in other communities in Europe here. I don't want to mention any names, you know, but people have shared this. The men have shared this with me. They say, yes, I'm sorry, usually Women's Day, I don't come, you know, yeah. Because they feel, you know, they should be doing it, you know. Yeah, so, but then again, I mean, if the woman is elderly and a bit more mature and she, you know, she could be a mother or she could be their mother, you know, she has a motherly mood. So then for many men, it's not such a challenge, you know, depending on how their egos, you know, work, you know. Yeah, so anyway, these are just some little reasons, you know. and understanding all that. I mean, I have observed, you know, especially because I'm also traveling in India usually, not now in the lockdown, but, you know, usually I spend 5 months in India, Bangladesh every year. And I'm not just in Mayapur and Vrindavan, but I travel all around India and give lectures and seminars and so on. And I have that experience. In some temples, they don't invite me to give Bhagavatam class. And this is fine for me. I don't have to, you know, insist, and I'm, you know, I don't mind at all, you know. So, and in some places, I'm mainly giving seminars for the women in India. Some places, they are happy with seminars for men and women. And other places, they're happy with all that, plus also a Bhagavatam class, you know. But I have observed that one reason why the leaders in India are a little hesitant in empowering us women from the Western world is because of this competitive nature, you know, and it's a very subtle thing. If a woman competes and she gets all, you know, competitive, oh, I can give class too, and I want to demonstrate here, I can actually do it better than many men and so on. You know, this is this ego thing. So if women are in this competitive mood, even if it is very subtle, this is what the male nature objects. And they feel threatened by this because, as we discussed in lesson number 2, you know, they need that feminine energy to be empowered and motivated and inspired. And they can get only this feminine energy if we women take the humble position and we give our energy to them and let them be the heroes. And the most detrimental thing in human society is when the women get competitive, you know, because then that means they are not allowing to give their energy to them and be the power of inspiration to the men. And they know, you know, that will weaken them. And therefore, they don't want to, you know, allow us competitive women, you know, to take the lead and sit on the Vyasasana and so on, you know. So that's really the reason. But, you know, I'm trying my best not to be in this competitive mood. Of course, it's really only an ego thing, you know, and I also have false ego. It's not that I'm free of this. So sometimes my ego also gets the better of me and I'm getting competitive. And then I can feel immediately, ooh, the men don't like it, you know. But if I'm not in a competitive mood and I don't mind at all right, either they want me to give class or they don't want me to give class, it's not an issue. I don't get all agitated if they say, oh, Mataji, please, you please give seminars to the ladies. This is fine for me, no problem at all. So, and then if they feel that actually, you know, the lady preacher is not competitive, then they don't feel threatened. And then very easily next time on the visit, they actually invite to give class, you know, Bhagavatam class. If they feel this person is not competitive, she's happy to, you know, be in the background and just do whatever she is invited to, you know. So yeah, what really, what the men object to is this competitiveness, you know, in giving class or preaching and so on, you know. And that, yeah, that spoils the whole man-woman thing there, you know. Yeah, so I think before we stop and ask for questions, I do want to quickly discuss the topic of kirtan, because it is in many ways similar to giving class, you know, because same thing, I mean, that's for sure. In India, for example, you will not find a temple where the ladies are invited to lead the standard kirtans of the temple program, you know, like Mangalarti, Tulsi Arti, and Prabhupada Guru Puja, and Gaura Aarti. These standard temple program kirtans, in India, you will not find that any lady is invited for this, you know. So let us understand why. Because in the Western world, it is becoming more and more common, more and more, you know. It wasn't like that 36 years ago when I joined there. It was always a domain of the men, really. But now gradually this has come in, and I'm not judging it if it's right or wrong or good or bad or what. You know, I'm simply trying to give my audience here insights why it is like that, you know, in India, Bangladesh, in these countries where the spiritual culture is still more preserved, why this for them it doesn't really fit, you know. So first of all, I'd like to make the distinction between you know, the standard temple program kirtans, which I just mentioned, Mangaladi, you know, Nishingadev prayers, Tulsi Adi, and Prabhupada Guru Puja and Gaura Aarti. I like to distinguish between these kirtans and some more bhajan kirtan, you know, style kirtan in the afternoon, sitting down in front of the deities and just singing. You know, there is a distinction there, clearly, you know. So, because these sitting down kirtans, which are not part of the standard temple program, that you also find in India, that they are led by the ladies. In Mayapur, they have certain timings where the ladies sing in front of Radha Madhava regularly. And also now I think the Kirtan Mela is going on. You know, there's also ladies singing. You know, that's not a problem, you know. So again, there is, we have also this other extreme, in my humble opinion, extreme attitude, a woman should never sing, you know. No, this is not part of the culture, really. It is not, I'm sorry, you know. No, this is too extreme. But these extreme attitudes come only in when we don't more deeply understand, you know. If we don't have the deeper understanding, then we go to the extremes. Any woman can sing or no woman can ever sing. You know, no, we have to get a deeper understanding. So when we have some bhajan kirtan type sitting down kirtans outside of the temple program, the difference is that first of all, these kirtans are not mandatory. They're not part of the regular temple program where actually everybody should be attending. Of course, also the brahmacharis should be attending. No, they are optional, you know. And those people like the brahmacharis who maybe don't want to hear some pretty young lady there singing, they don't have to be there, no problem, you know. That's one difference, you know, that it's optional. It's outside of the regular program. And then another thing is, like these regular temple kirtans, actually in a subtle way, when a person leads these kirtans, they're actually promoted as leaders. Because I remember I was married for 10 years, so my ex-husband, he was a pretty good kirtanier. So I remember how he often expressed that it helps him to lead the devotees if he every now and again leads a kirtan, you know, because in kirtan everybody is following us, you know. So we are in a subtle way increasing our leadership capacity. And the whole congregation or the devotees follow the kirtan leader, you know. So it promotes that person into a leading position. And according to Krishna's recommendation, you know, this is more the you know, the duty of the men. They are meant to protect, to provide, and to take charge. They're driving the tractor, as we explained in lesson number 1, you know. So that's why, you know, in spiritual culture, where really the culture is still intact, you know, the men are not so keen to have the women leading the kirtans, because in a subtle way it promotes them as leaders, you know, but they know actually we should be doing that function, you know, like that. And I mean, saying this doesn't mean a woman cannot be temple president or whatever, you know. We have quite a few ladies in ISKCON worldwide who are leaders, who are temple presidents, who are GBCs, you know. So especially if they're not competitive, but if they're serving in a motherly mood of pushing the men to the front and wanting them to become, you know, the heroes and so on, then this is not a problem at all, you know. Yeah, not a problem at all. And I mean, also, I want to share one thing from my own life, because when I started serving as a preacher and started traveling, this was in 2000, year 99, 2000, that's when I started traveling, preaching Ukraine and so on. So the first few years I was leading these temple kirtans. I can't say I was so great at it, you know, I didn't have so much practice, but I simply felt, oh, I'm a preacher now, and I thought this was expected of me to actually lead these kirtans, you know. And in Ukraine, often there's not so many senior devotees there, so I was always more senior than most of them and so on, and they always invited me. So I was doing it, you know. But I never felt so fully comfortable with it, to be honest, you know. So, and then my Guru Maharaj, Niranjana Swami, at that time, he was actually not my spiritual master yet, because he's my third Diksha Guru. So at that time, I was with Prabhu Vishnu Maharaj, who is now not Maharaj anymore, but Prabhu. So in any case, he was not even my Diksha Guru at the time, but he was always the GBC in Ukraine. And he once, in a very indirect way, he tried to give me the hint that he thought it was not so good for me to lead these kirtans. And it was so indirect that I didn't even get the point. I didn't even understand it, you know. It's quite a few years ago. It must be 15 years ago or something, when I didn't have all these realizations. But I'm just like to share this, just to show you that it also took me quite some time to get these insights. And I was also in this competitive mood of, yes, the women, and we have to be in the front and we lead and all this. I've been there, done that. I've had it all, you know. But thank God I, you know, transformed that, you know, by Krishna's mercy. So in any case, I distinctly remember he, you know, he was in Ukraine and I was there, and he called me in his room, and he was encouraging me. He was saying, yes, I heard you like to sing with a harmonium. So actually, you are welcome to take my personal harmonium along with you on your journey, because I know many temples that don't have a nice harmonium. So you can get it from my room in Kiev and take that harmonium with you, which I never did. Would have been too much trouble for me to carry this around with me. So, but he offered that. He first was encouraging me. And he was saying, yes, you know, before you give class, you can, because I was often singing bhajans from our Vaishnav songbook before I was giving evening programs. So, and he liked that, and he encouraged it, and he said, yes, so you can take my harmonium, and then in the evenings when you give class for your bhajans, you have a better harmonium. So, and then he said, but one thing I have to tell you, you know, if I was at a Prabhupada Guru Puja, where a woman would lead the kirtan. He said, I'm sorry, I wouldn't be able to jump up and down with her. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. I'm sorry, I just wouldn't be able to do that. You know, I probably would just go and leave the temple room. That's what he said. And I was wondering, why is he telling me that? You know, obviously, if he was present, I would never ever dare to lead the Prabhupada Guru Puja. So why is he telling me that? I didn't even understand. I didn't even get the point, you know. I really didn't. So, and I just continued leading these kirtans because I didn't get the point. So, and then a few years later, it happened that in Bangladesh, the devotees, just out of affection, they asked me, oh, Mataji, can you lead the Mangalarti tomorrow morning? You know, they wanted to invite me. And I thought, no, forget it. I'm not going to introduce that here in Bangladesh, the women leading Mangalarti. No, forget it. Because otherwise other ladies want to imitate that and then they also want to lead. And I just felt, no, this I don't want to introduce in Bangladesh in such a traditional cultured place. So I said, no, forget it. This is your men's job, you know, that's the job for the boys. You know, I don't want to do that. So, and then I kept still living this double life, you know, that in Bangladesh I would never lead these kirtans. But other kirtans, you know, before class or bhajans or on the stage programs and so on, of course I was singing, of course, you know, but not these temple program kirtans, you know. So, and then I was still playing this double life there, you know, that in Bangladesh, I would never lead these, but in Ukraine and other places, I would lead them. So, and then one day I came to the point where I was thinking, why only be cultured in Bangladesh? Why not everywhere, you know? And then I just stopped leading these kirtans, you know. And I noticed, I could really feel like also in Ukraine, how much it encourages actually the men in their leadership capacity. If, you know, somebody like my humble self steps back and says, no, you boys, you lead, you know, it really encourages them. Yes, I could perceive this, you know, because for so many years I was leading these kirtans, and then all of a sudden one day I said, no, sorry, you just lead. It's all right, you lead, you know. And I could see how it really was, you know, giving them a boost. And Mataji told I should lead, and she didn't even leave the temple room. She stayed in the kirtan when I was leading. And that was really giving them a boost and encouraging them so much, you know. Yeah, that I realized, yes, you know, it's because also we discussed that for a man, it's very painful to look like a fool in the eyes of a woman if she knows it all better, you know. And then he feels all discouraged and thinks, oh no, she can do it all better. I better don't do it. Let her do it all. And then he gets all weak and wimpy and undecisive, and he's afraid to do it wrong and so on. You know, so similar principle I have discovered also in regards to kirtan. So even if we women maybe can do it much better, but at least for myself, I prefer to let the men do it. And that really, you know, it encourages them in their leadership propensity and in their leadership role. And that's at least what I want to see. I want the men, you know, to be strong leaders who are motivated and inspired and heroic and play their role of leadership, you know. That's what I want to encourage the men, and they can feel that, and they're highly appreciated, you know. They really value and respect that. If a woman, you know, then they feel, yes, she knows, she is a true mother, she knows how to encourage me and how to bring me to my best level of capacity, you know. Yes. And they really highly value that and honor that, you know. So, yeah, so I simply wanted to share that a little bit from my personal life. But, you know, as I'm always saying, I'm not establishing here what's right and what's wrong. You know, it just depends where we want to stand, you know, how much of which culture we want to invite in our life. And I fully respect if, you know, devotees have a different opinion on these things and they want the women to lead and this and that. Okay, fine, it's no problem for me, you know, I can respect this and so on, you know. But yeah, I myself, I want to practice like that. And I also hope that others also respect that, you know. Yes, and as I was sharing, it took me quite a while to get to get this to this point, you know. And I mean, in regards to also leading kirtans, for example, we can in general really say, and I'm always emphasizing this in the Holy Name retreats, which I also like to conduct, that actually one should not be so keen to lead. This, no matter whether one is in a man's body or in a woman's body, it always indicates that we are actually running after this ego satisfaction. You know, if this is such a prominent topic for us, who leads, you know, it actually shows we haven't gotten that much on deeper levels of chanting the holy name, because once we get on deeper levels of chanting, then we don't care less who leads, because we realize it's a very deep thing of connecting with the Lord, calling out to him. It's much easier to deeply connect with the Lord when we don't lead, you know. So this whole topic of who leads, oh my God, this is just an ego thing, you know. If our satisfaction in kirtan comes from, oh, I was leading, let's be clear, we are running after ego satisfaction. Our satisfaction and joy does not come from chanting the holy name, because if it was coming from chanting the holy name, it wouldn't matter who leads, whether we lead or somebody else leads. It wouldn't be an issue, you know. But if it is such an issue, you know, let's make the diagnosis here. We are running after ego satisfaction. Yes. And that's why I wrote a whole book about this topic, you know, the false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker, you know, because we have to recognize these things. We have to recognize these things. So for me personally, this whole topic, whether women lead kirtans or not, it's not even an issue for me, you know, because, yes, I know, you know, that I clearly understand that this is ego satisfaction, you know, and to actually, when we get on deeper levels of chanting and we truly connect with the Lord when we chant, that's, you know, the joy we should be after, you know, and not this ego satisfaction, you know. Yeah, so, you know, to be so eager, oh, I have to lead, and oh, it's not fair, and oh, and you know, this is always, actually, it means disqualification already, you know, no matter whether we are in a man's body or woman's body, because it means, you know, our motive is contaminated through the ego drive there, you know, and that contaminates the whole kirtan, you know. Yes. Yes. And it's also part of the Vaishnava etiquette that especially in the presence of senior devotees, we should not show ourselves eager to lead or speak. My God, this is completely uncultured. You know, we should actually invite the more senior person, or maybe Prabhu or whoever, Mataji, Maharaj, maybe you would like to lead or speak, you know, and then if they invite us back and say, no, it's all right, so you please lead or speak. So, all right then, you know, but in the presence of you know, seniors, it's very uncultured, you know, to be keen to lead. And I mean, I was once in a temple, and again, I don't want to say the name, which place, but a prominent temple. And they have, you know, a certain day a week when the women lead the all the kirtans, you know. So on that day, a sannyasi was visiting. And the sannyasi didn't know that this was the Women's Day, you know. So, and then he turned to the brahmachari assistant he had and asked, oh, should I lead the kirtan? So, and then the answer to the Maharaj was, no, Maharaj, it's the Women's Day, you know. So uncultured, my God, you know. So, I mean, the culture is, there's a Maharaj there, so of course, you know, we invite him, you know, we let him lead and not, oh, it's a Woman's Day, my day, I'm going to lead now. Ah, my God, you know, Mataji is competing with the Maharaj. I mean, that's terrible, that's horrible. Yeah, yeah. But these things we are inviting, you know, into our devotional life when we don't understand these things, you know. Yes. Yeah, so and somebody also told me a similar story. It was during Kartik time, you know, and there was a whole roster who was singing the Damodarastika, you know, and, you know, fair enough, Damodarastika, even in India also in some temples, they invite ladies also to sing the Damodarastika, you know. So, but in any case, you know, it was a lady was on the roster that it was her day to sing Damodarastika. And again, there was a visiting Maharaj there, you know, coming for that one day. And then some senior devotee suggested to her, or maybe we should invite Maharaj to sing Damodarastika. And she got completely angry. Forget it, it's my day. Terrible, you know, very uncultured, you know, not really your humble mood, you know, but again, competing with the Maharaj, it's my day, you know, that's not fair, you know. Yeah, so we have to be very careful, you know, this is really not our Vaishnav mood and culture, you know. Vaishnav mood is, I am unqualified, you know, everybody else is more senior, you know, I'm just unqualified. And of course, when there's a senior devotee there, of course, you know, let him lead, my God, you know, yes. And I mean, thinking of the discussion yesterday of shyness, you know, I mean, actually, if a woman has a little bit preserved her shyness, she would feel too embarrassed to sing in the presence of seniors and Maharajas and so on, you know. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway. Okay, so let me see if anybody has some question on that topic, because we still have one more topic. So but it's a pretty brief one, I would say, I hope, the last one. So do we have any questions on this topic of women leading kirtans and giving class?
No questions in chat.
No questions in the chat? All right, well, then we'll just continue.
Irina Minkina wants to say something.
Okay, Irina, what do you got to say about it?
Thank you very much for this topic. I just wanted to ask you, when the men, the Prabhus, don't like that the women lead their lectures, give the lectures, do they also discriminate between the men, between the Prabhus? I mean, is it only the gender discrimination, or it has to do what the person has to say? Or, I mean, this is what I was wondering. Or it's just the gender and that's all? Or the topic or the qualification, whether other aspects also play the role also?
I mean, I don't think we can generalize that, you know, it's an individual thing. For some men, I mean, I know for sure, and I've heard this not only in India, but also in Europe, because I'm talking to people and, you know, they know my attitude and often they come and reveal their minds also, you know, and they share what, you know, that they find it hard to tolerate to come on those days when the women lead the kirtans or the women give the classes, you know. So there's a certain group of men who just categorically don't want to come on those days, you know, because it just doesn't sit right with them, you know. So, but then, I mean, I wouldn't say that all men are like that. And some men may still distinguish who speaks, you know. And if there's a senior woman there, Prabhupada disciple or something, then they may come. But then other ladies, they may not come, you know. And of course, there's always devotees also who don't come to all classes given by the men, you know. So, you know, they also sometimes rather don't come or something, you know. Even though, I mean, as a rule, you know, we should also set that example of attending classes, you know, and honor the speakers, even if maybe the person is not so senior or something, but we can always enliven the discussion by adding some comments and bringing up some questions or something, you know, and just stimulate the discussion. So I find it's also an important part, you know, that we set the example that Bhagavatam class should be attended, you know, pretty much no matter who gives class, really. So this picky mood of, oh no, I'm not going to this person's class and so on, is also not so nice, you know, because we should set the example to other younger devotees that we attend the classes. And as I'm saying, we can always stimulate the discussion with some different questions and points and comments and so on, you know. And then actually a very nice exchange often comes about, you know, because actually now we're getting a little off the topic here, but when we look at Prabhupada's classes, they were often very short, just 20 minutes. And then there was discussion. And also in Mayapur, you know, during the GBC meetings, when so many Maharajas are in Mayapur, hopefully that time will ever come again when we have this nice time in Mayapur. So there also very often the classes are very short, you know, but then all the Maharajas, GBCs being present, and then they all make, you know, comments and enliven the discussion and bring up different topics. And that's when the real nectar flows, actually, in the question and answer time, you know. So, and often we, you know, we don't understand that, and we talk for 45 minutes, 1 hour, and then, oh, no time for questions, and then Granthar Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai and finished, you know. But this is actually how it should not be, you know. It should actually be an exchange, you know. Yeah, that's how devotees associate. They should come together and discuss together and hear from each other and inquire from each other, you know. So, and because we don't have that spontaneously in us, that's why we have to have the classes, the morning class, the evening class, just to, you know, help us to cultivate this mood of associating with each other, that we hear from each other and inquire from each other, you know. So even if the speaker is not so advanced or something, you know, we can still associate and inquire and add some comments and stimulate the discussion, you know, and associate with this person, you know, in class, you know. Yeah, so we should see the class as a forum for Vaishnava association, actually, you know. All right, so let me touch upon the last topic here on our agenda, another one of those controversial issues, women being Diksha gurus, You know, I mean, now, as far as I know, there is some rule that yes, women can be Diksha Gurus. We finally decided that, and it took many, many years actually. But there's also so many conditions and so on and so forth. So yes, let us just very briefly, I mean, again, for me, this topic is not such a hot issue really, but let us just briefly look at the point or at different angles here of this whole discussion. You know, why in some parts of the world, you know, this is not so, yeah, eagerly accepted, you know. So let us understand, first of all, that actually true guru is in one sense self-manifesting, because true guru, you know, people will come, people will take shelter, people will ask for guidance and advice, and true guru simply inspires. So there's nothing that can actually bar a person from being guru, you know, actually. That's one point. And then the other point is that actually to give shiksha, to give instruction, is so much more important than the mere diksha, actually, you know. And we can say the purpose of giving diksha is actually to give shiksha, you know. Diksha without shiksha, without instruction and guidance, is not that helpful really, or not that valuable, you know. So that the valuable thing is shiksha, you know. And we also have to admit that in ISKCON, you know, we are overemphasizing a little the Diksha Guru, and we are not really giving the equal importance to the Shiksha Guru, you know. Usually when we ask, oh, who is your guru, we are always talking about the Diksha Guru and nothing else really, you know, or nobody else. You know, so we are overemphasizing a little bit the Diksha Guru. That's a fact. And you know, this is well known amongst the senior devotees and leaders that we are not quite properly apply and live the Guru Tattva, actually, you know. So, and I mean, really, there's nothing that can stop the ladies in any case, you know, to serve as Shiksha Gurus, you know. Yes, because we can also say we have, you know, we have so many devotees who receive Diksha, but for whatever reason, they're not really getting the necessary shiksha. They're not really getting that much guidance and instruction, also because our shiksha gurus, our diksha gurus are so overloaded. You know, our initiating spiritual masters, they often have thousands of disciples, you know, thousands, you know. So actually, you know, to give shiksha, there is so many initiated devotees who are starving for guidance, for shelter, for instruction, you know. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, what can I say? I'm too busy to even take part in this whole discussion or something, you know. So, yeah, you know, so I mean, before this whole topic was resolved with this, you know, with this resolution now that yes, women can be also Diksha Gurus. Often people were asking me my opinion, and I was always saying, well, just preach, just serve as Guru. Who stops you? What's the problem? You know, whether this is Diksha or Shiksha, my God, you know, my God. I mean, you know. So, but because the Diksha Guru is getting more recognition in ISKCON, and there's more given emphasis to the Diksha Guru, you know, maybe this is one reason why, you know, some are objecting so much that, oh, we women cannot be Diksha Gurus or something. Anyway, now they can. But in any case, and I mean, also once one senior lady, you know, she was making to me privately this comment, and she was saying, but the Diksha Gurus are the ones who get all the donations. oh, and I was shocked, I thought, okay, if that's our motivation now, if that's the reason why we want to become gurus, Diksha gurus, because they're getting the donations, oh my God, so I kept quiet, I didn't say anything, but I was a little surprised, yes. So, I mean, there can be all kinds of motives there also, But in any case, yesterday I was sharing how this brahmachari in Bangladesh said, our Guru Maharaj is our father and you are a mother, and mother more important, Wow, so, I mean, if we ladies play our roles as mothers, more deeply and more with more commitment and so on, we can be more prominent in people's lives than the Diksha Guru, definitely. Yes. I mean, I have that experience too, that often devotees share that with me, because the Diksha Guru is so remote, they may not even have much access to their Diksha Gurus, and they may not even get a reply to their letters, because I mean, if he has thousands of disciples, he may not be able to answer every letter, especially if the letters come frequently, So, yeah, and many devotees have shared this with me personally, and I'm not saying this to, glorify myself here, but it's just a fact. So somebody like me, may be actually more prominent in devotees' lives than their Diksha Guru, who's so remote and far away, and, who they don't have much access to, Yes. So, And another thing is also that, as we said yesterday, the mother is the first Shiksha Guru for the human being, the mother plants the seed of bhakti in the child's heart. So I'm often thinking, God, why don't we take that role a bit more seriously, and and really, really understand what an important role it is to be a true mother, who really gives quality time to the children and really engages them in a meaningful way in Krishna consciousness and plants that seed of bhakti, that is one of our important roles, But then also, I do always stress that we definitely cannot say women cannot be Diksha Gurus. That sounds like bodily platform, because some people also have that approach to the topic, that they just say women cannot be Diksha Gurus. Because we do have ladies in our Vaishnav, line. Ganga Mata Goswamini, Janava Mata, Lord Nityananda's consort. But who were these ladies? They were eternal associates of the Lord. They were Shakti Tattva, part of Shakti Tattva, So, I mean, they were very special souls. We can't compare ourselves with them, so obviously they're an exception, But that statement to say, oh, women cannot be Diksha Guru, no, this sounds strange to me, But we have to understand, that it's not so easy, especially the emotional nature makes it difficult, Yes, definitely. Yes, because, a person, and that's not only for women, even if men also have a strong emotional nature, this may also make it difficult for them to act as a Diksha Guru, because being Diksha Guru is probably the position with the highest pressure in this material world, I mean, so many men have collapsed under it and fallen away, So, yeah, do we really want to send our ladies into that fire there, So, yeah, it's high pressure. And I can only tell for myself, subtle body is just not so strong as a rule of the women, the subtle body. And we easier get emotionally, involved and react on the emotional platform and so on. And then we overreact and misjudge and so on. And yeah, that pressure can easily be too much, you know. And I also feel that I can feel exactly, you know, where is my limit, and I'm very careful not to carry too much, because then, yeah, easily, you know, the mind cannot deal with it, and then we can't sleep and so on and so forth. You know, if we can't sleep, there's always the first indication that the subtle body is not strong enough to carry what we have accepted, you know, the load, you know. Yeah, and I mean, even from a biological point of view, this is a clear fact that man's body, woman's body reacts very differently to stress. Very differently. Male body, some, I don't know, enzymes, hormones, whatever it may be, is released, and for them stress is exhilarating and exciting, and you know, as a rule, a man who still is a bit masculine and male, you know, he loves it, you know. But we women, there's some other, you know, chemicals released in the body, and usually we women don't function so well with stress, and we get all flustered, and we feel like withdrawing and hiding somewhere and so on, you know. So male body, female body reacts very differently to stress, you know. Yeah, so in any case, these are my little comments to the whole topic of Diksha Guru, you know. So yes, and again, we can say, similar to the topic with leading kirtans, if somebody is so keen to be guru and I have to be Diksha Guru, this sounds already like some material motivation, you know. Vaishnav humility is, I am unqualified. That's the Vaishnav mood. I'm not qualified to accept disciples, you know. And not I'm the most qualified and I want to be the Diksha Guru. This is already a sign for disqualification, actually, in my humble opinion, you know. So, and yeah, there's so much preaching work to be done, so many devotees to nourish and care for and guide and so on, you know. So whether it is Diksha or Shiksha, my God, you know. Okay. Yes, I'm looking in my sheet here. Yeah, that's basically all I really want to say about that, you know. So, you know, I mean, I don't take any such strong and firm stand in it, you know. I simply say for myself, I definitely never ever want to become a Diksha Guru, you know. So, but if other ladies want, okay, fine, you know, it's fine with me, you know. And I can understand why in some parts of the world, yeah, people maybe object and so on, you know. Again, this competitive nature and so on, you know. Yes. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I didn't explain that properly, that once, if we get on the emotional platform, you know, emotional platform is connected with the mind, you know. So as if we are caught on the emotional platform, we actually will find it very difficult, if not to say impossible, to bring a person to the transcendental platform. So that's why the emotional nature is one of the main things which make it very difficult for a woman to serve in such a, you know, highly stressful capacity of being Diksha Guru, you know. Yes, yes. It's the emotional nature which makes it very hard. Because in order to uplift a person, we cannot be emotionally entangled with that person, you know. Yes, we have to be aloof. We have to be transcendental, which means beyond the bodily platform, you know, beyond the platform of the mind, you know. Yes. But if we easily get on caught in the emotional platform, then we will not be able to do this, you know. Which, of course, doesn't mean that a woman cannot preach. I had also people saying that to me, oh, so then you shouldn't even preach or something, if you think that's the main, disqualification. No, but just preaching is, it's not such a highly stressful position as being the Diksha Guru. So then, if we don't, put ourselves under so much pressure, we also don't get so easily on the emotional platform, like that. Okay, so time is up. So now is the time for some sharing, if you like. Bhakti Mataji, you wanted to share something? Please unmute her.
Thank you, Devaki. I just want to say that you've done an excellent job explaining all of this. And, over the past, I guess, I've been on this path for about 7 years now. And I've been in so many different community groups where this topic of women's intelligence and equality comes up time and time again. And it's quite emotionally charged, as you can imagine. But nobody explains it. Nobody leading the class can explain it. And so you've done a fabulous job with this, and it's very well organized. And I thank Krishna that you are a preacher. You're very good at it. It's a gift, Devaki. And I'm really very happy that Tiffany introduced me to you, my Diksha Guru.
Okay, well, thank you for expressing that. I have to admit, I was a little worried, because I also don't know you. I've never met you. I only know you're from New York originally and so on. And I was thinking, okay, so how will she swallow all these things, So.
Well, I have to tell you, after your first 2 classes, it was, and still some of it is hard for me, because you really did turn my social order upside down. And I had to talk to some of my devotee friends who kind of talked me off the ledge, so to speak, about it all. But I appreciate and I respect the culture.
Yes.
We don't live it here. And
Yes.
I've never, it's just never been a part of it's never been a part of my constitution, so to speak. But,
Yes.
I can't help but think also that, because it can be confusing as well, especially when you think that, especially I would have discussions with my Maharaj quite often about my career and how things were going and how I would always try to get away from one thing and do something else. And I'm a banker by profession.
Okay.
But I have lots of other credentials, so I was all over the place. But I found that even though when I was trying to get out of banking, I was always drawn back in. And my Maharaj, in his own way, always, I was where I was supposed to be. There's no doubt about it. I was where I was supposed to be. And I think that Krishna meant for me to be where I am and who I am, because it just kept pulling me back in one way or another. So, so I understand. I do. I understand everything that you're saying. I get it. It's hard, though. It's still hard. Doesn't make it easier.
Yeah, also, please don't misunderstand me and also don't misrepresent me to your friends. It's not that I'm saying, this is right, everything else is wrong,
I made sure to tell them that.
Yeah.
And I've given them your link.
I'm simply giving insights how Krishna's system is functioning,
Yeah.
And we can clearly see how the modern world is really upside down.
Yeah.
We have so many social issues and they're always increasing. They're getting worse and worse and worse, Yes. So, shouldn't that in itself be enough reason to ponder a little bit and say, well, maybe we are on the wrong track. Maybe there is something we do wrong, Yes, And then, when we look into the different things, how male nature, feminine nature, how they're meant to fit and complement each other, you know, we can very clearly see, oh, well, then there is stability there, there's harmony there, there's balance there, you know, and the problem is simply that we are just miles away from Krishna system. We are so far removed. And that's why we have such chaos in Kali Yuga, you know, yes. So, I mean, see, nobody expects somebody like your good self now to, you know, drop everything and you know, give up all your professional activities and so on. That's not the point. That's not the point, you know. So please don't take that conclusion that you think, okay, now Devaki Mataji said that this is all wrong and so on. No, but it just, you know, gives us just some different insights, you know, how life can also be lived, you know. And I mean, this is, for example, in Bangladesh, they have maybe 1% divorce rate in the society in Bangladesh, you know. I mean, amongst the Hindu community, it doesn't even exist. There's no such legal thing as legal divorce amongst the Hindus, you know. So, and even a few years ago, some sociologists there determined that the Bangladeshis are the most happy nation in the world, even though they're so poor, even it's such a poor country, you know, but they're the most happy people in the world. So, I mean, maybe we can learn something from them, you know, you know, yes, maybe we can, you know. Yeah, but anyway, I'm very happy that you stuck with it and, you know, and you appreciate it and you got something out of it. And yeah, and as I'm always saying, I'm simply trying to give the insights and then we can make a conscious decision where we want to be,
right,
you know, on this whole spectrum, you know. And as you say yourself now, you know, it has to be properly explained. We have to, you know, really give the deep insight so we understand the reasons for, you know, Krishna system to function in this way, you know, yes. Otherwise, if we just, you know, come with some cliche stereotype things of, oh, a woman should do this and a woman should do that, oh, you know, this is such a shallow and cliche type approach, you know, yes. Yeah, so anyway. And I mean, also let us remember, you know, that even in the Western world, even in America, life was not always the way it is now, you know. Even 100 years ago, life was different in America too, you know, and even in America, you have people who are very, you know, Christian and very in a conservative Christian mood. And they talk the same thing, what we are discussing here, actually. There's this one Christian preacher, his name is Dobson or something like that. I quoted him in the Spiritual Culture book, you know, you got the book, so you will come across it, you know. He says exactly the same things, yes, you know. So it's not that, oh, this is some Vedic thing, you know, like I personally don't even use this term Vedic. Oh, you know, I don't even use it. I always talk about spiritual culture, not about Vedic culture, you know. Yeah, because first of all, Vedic, there's so much of the Vedic culture is actually very materialistic. Only a very small part of it is actually spiritual. You know, so that's why I always like to talk about spiritual culture, a culture where God consciousness is the center, you know. And Christianity, you know, it's not so long ago, you know.
That's right, it's not.
Yeah, that this culture was more practiced and lived, you know. I mean, even in my childhood here in Germany, I grew up in the village, every woman had their head covered, you know. This was 60 years ago. All the ladies in the village, they all had their headscarves either tied underneath the chin or tied in the back there. You know, women were not going around without a head cover. These things are not so long ago, you know. It's just materialism has set in so much in the last 50, 100 years and has pushed aside all the aspects of spiritual culture, you know. Yeah, anyway, so thank you for sharing and for, you know, participating. Okay, anything else? Ina Mataji, you want to share something? Unmute her. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Devaki.
Hare Krishna.
Well, I had a little thought about this gender confusion nowadays, like gay people, you know, is this actually coming from their sort of previous life, not working, not properly living their sort of like emotions of that body, and they bringing with the subtle body into the following, and all this confusion sort of prolongs and getting more confusion. Do you have sort of ideas about that?
About gay.
Yeah, what is this
people.
sort of? I know they're like confused basically that they want to be different body, but does this come from a previous life because they didn't live properly? They didn't maybe live like you say. Now we're women, we're emotional, so we actually it's normal for us to be emotional. We don't need to really like you know, like put away these feelings. But if you're men, then you have to take charge and you have to leave. That's also, you know, those emotions as well, like men emotions, but. Maybe then I think these gay people, they're already confused. They have like a male body, but they're feeling all these emotional things. But is it because of the previous life they brought it with them into this life?
I mean, I think I have also been pondering over this, why these same-sex relationships are becoming more and more common, you know. And I think there's various reasons. First of all, I think there is something like this that, you know, a man's mind can be in a woman's body, and also a woman's mind can be in a man's body somehow. Mm-hmm. This, you know, these things do exist. But then another thing is also, I can't remember whether we touched upon it or not. You know, no, I was once mentioning that in spiritual culture, you know, the young girls and the young boys, there's right from beginning of life, they're trained how to behave and dress and present themselves according to their vehicle they're driving, you know. So young girls are right from young age, they're trained how to act as a lady, that they should be decorated and pretty and this and that. You know, and the boys right from young age, they're trained how to be a man. And this is pretty important because most of us may have had the other gender in previous life. You know, we were briefly talking about that. And if we don't get this clear training according to, you know, the body we have received in this life, then very easily the memories of previous life are still there. They're all stored in the subtle body. So unless we are trained, you know, then those impressions from previous life may be more prominent there. And then we get all mixed up, you know. So that may be one reason. And then another reason is, and I have observed this, you know, I have observed this. I'm always observing and analyzing, you know, and I've very clearly observed that, you know, especially when people simply orientated towards sexual satisfaction, which is the trend in Kali Yuga, that, you know, man-woman relationship or relationship in general, it's all about sex life, sense gratification. So for a certain class of people, it's just much easier, for example, for a certain class of ladies, it's just much easier to get together with another lady. Then she doesn't have to worry about the male false ego and deal with all that, and take the humble position there and be the power of inspiration and all that kind of thing. Oh, it's all too troublesome. So much easier to get together with a woman and have sex with her, and same for the man too. For many men, it's just too much headache and troublesome to deal with a woman's mind and emotions, and it's just easier to get together with a man, Yes, and I mean, there's also some people who have sex with animals, even that is more easy for them, then they don't have to worry about a person at all, and they just have sex with animals. This also exists, my God, yes.
So it is the degradation
Yes,
of the sort of humanity as such.
Yes.
Because I heard one senior Russian devotee, he was saying that, well, actually, if someone, because some also like a devotee came to him and said, oh, well, I'm attracted to men. Like, what do I do? I'm a devotee, but this is the feelings I have. How do I overcome them? And he said, well, you need to really live in what the body you have. So sort of, like if you're in a man body, then you need to do the men things. Then that will go away. Then you will be stop attracted to men, because it's that weakness that sort of like femininity overtakes that, because he doesn't want to take charge, he doesn't want to support or protect and all these sort of things. So then on the other side comes, oh, I'll just, better someone else protects me, and like it will be a man, but I don't want to do this thing. So he said, like, if you try to do this and obviously chant and just go and take charge and build or something, do with the hands, and that you will then sort of like overpower that, and you maybe you will stop being attracted, and then you actually start to be attracted to ladies, like go back to normal, something like this. So it's like a mental platform of maybe not trying to accept your responsibilities, of current body.
There can be so many reasons.
Many reasons, yeah.
Yes. And also it may be connected with our relationship to our parents, because naturally in our relationship with the parents, we learn to establish relationship with the other gender. So for a woman, her relationship to her father very much determines how well she can relate to men in her later life. And the same with the boys, in their relationship to their mothers, that's the first man-woman relationship, So if that was a traumatic relationship or something, then this can also be one.
They want to go away from that gender, like if the mother wasn't very motherly, like, oh, I don't want. Because usually if the mother was good, they want a wife like this with the same qualities, because they just want to bring that's close to them. But if that was not good, then I don't want that. I'd rather deal with a man, and then they start to like fall in love or whatever.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It's sort of like very confused subject.
Yes. But I mean, one thing, in regards to same gender relationships, is really that the purification of using sex life for procreation cannot be there, This is, the process of bhakti, that we use the senses in Krishna's service. So the sex desire is meant to be used in Krishna's service by, bringing children, by conceiving children. And that's how we purify the sex desire, by taking responsibility for the outcome of sex, So this is, for me, the whole topic that, I kind of feel, of course, I do know homosexual devotees and so on in ISKCON, so no problem. Of course, they can chant and do service and this and that and so on, And also, if, according to my understanding, if they're celibate, then they can also be initiated. But same-sex marriage, it cannot really lead to purification. How will you use?
That's the degradation of the current like age.
Yes.
Because even in Mahabharata, like there were that sort of people. It says that even Arjuna, he dressed as this that person when they were in exile, and So they said like they've always been this sort of third gender, but they were just not sort of like advertising so much, and they were just living their life. They probably, you know, stayed celibate all their life. They're just like this, but you know, they sort of did their own duties. Just like, you know, you can be born in the dog's body or you know, some other body, but in this body that it's not like family sort of, you know, procreation body or whatnot. But now the whole world going like mad about this, all this like rights, and it's in your face, all these relationships, and our children growing up, and all these families, they're bringing up the children saying they're no gender. I'm shocked about this, you know, this thing that no gender, this boy or girl, like my friend was saying, ask, oh, they're pretty, I'm so sure, dressed fine, it's a boy or girl, and the parents actually answering, well, we bring this child up as no gender. They can decide for themselves, like when they grow up and something. Like, that's a crazy thing like that. The poor boy, girl, I don't know who that was, because they were dressed in, you know, you couldn't understand. But I'm thinking, well, I definitely don't want that to my daughter. I want her to meet a proper man. I don't want it to be like this man that, you know, doesn't want to do this but wants to do that. And it's just crazy this thing that happens with the parents now. And it's just so sad that that's where the world we, you know, we live in now.
Yes, I mean, I clearly see things in such terms that this whole man-woman, the gender confusion, you know, and this whole equality, it goes really to mad and extreme dimensions, you know, completely crazy dimensions of this whole, the social genders that you can choose and all this nonsense. The root causes all in this gender confusion and man-woman equality and not understanding that they have different, you know, natures and qualities because they're meant to play different roles. You know, so that's why I feel it is such an alarming situation the world is heading towards, and that's why I feel Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement will only become powerful if we get this in, and you know, get a grip onto this whole topic and get some clarity in this, that, you know, that men, women are so different because they're meant to play different roles, and you know, and then
they can only be happy if they're in that role. They kind of, I think now, because they're so unhappy, generally people, they're thinking, well, I'm not happy because I should be like another gender, then I'll be more happy. I'll try this because I'll be more happy. And I explain all my friends, this will not bring happiness, because I have a lot of, you know, girlfriends living in London. They're all this hyper with job, or that will make me happy. This doesn't make me happy. So only be living by nature, but what you're supposed to be, you know, like by God, by like all this, then that only thing will bring happiness, nothing else. And they keep experimenting. And I'm just thinking, when you're going to get tired of this, because this will not bring you happiness. And some people do realize it and some don't, but I think it's all about that.
But I do understand that there's also some higher, you know, plan, that there is some demoniac leaders who are propagating,
confusing people.
Just so the family unit falls apart, and that weakens people, and then they can be manipulated and controlled, you know. So that there is a higher plan there, and we as Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement, we simply have to set something against this and show the world how civilized and cultured life is meant to be lived. And you know, and as long as we are confused over the whole gender issue, then what can we show to people? You know, we are facing the same problems. And I mean, even this Christian preacher, you know, says this in this one article which I quoted in the book Spiritual Culture. You know, he says very clearly that a human society, you know, is only survives for a long time if the gender roles are very clearly defined, because that keeps the family unit strong, and that's the building block for a human society. So this whole, you know, diffusing of the gender roles, that leads to the whole society falling apart. You know, that's, he very clearly makes exactly these points, you know. So it's not just something, you know, that we say, or there's so many people out there actually who also understand that things are going in the wrong direction, you know. Yes. Yeah. But they don't know about Krishna system, but we have Krishna system. and we can back it up, and we can be convinced that Krishna's system is the best system, Yeah. Okay, so let's finish on this note. Thank you all so much for joining us, and have a wonderful Gopanim. Next Sunday we have Gopanim, and then comes Easter. So, and maybe I was thinking 10th of April, I may just do a once-off topic. I'm getting the impression for most people it's a little tiring to attend systematic things, because it requires more energy and time and effort and so on, So, but even though not really, this course, not many people have attended, but I can see if people watch it, they see it later at their own time or something, and they watch it, and somehow I hope it will reach some people. But maybe in the 10th of April, I may just offer a once-off session on some topic, and I will announce it on my Facebook page there and send some posters out. And then maybe end of April, no, not end of April, end of May, I may take it up again and give something, so maybe we'll meet again on those courses then, whenever it may be. Okay, so I wish you all a wonderful time in Krishna consciousness, and yeah, you have my email address. If you come across more questions or something, we can always keep in touch, and yes, and all the very best to you all. Srila Prabhupada ki, Swami Bhaktivinoda ki, Gaura Premanandi.